All right, so today with shorter classes, we are just going to take some quick notes on perfect squares and the square root of those perfect squares. And the reason for this is you're going to be asked to memorize or know numbers 1 through 20. So the first thing you can do in this document is actually go to the bottom and you can cross out 21 through 25. We are not going to ask that you memorize those. So this is one way that you could study these notes. Another way that you could study these notes or these concepts, the square roots and perfect squares 1 through 20, is there is a Quizlet attached in your Canvas right now. And that Quizlet will actually do flashcards for you so you could help study those before you take your perfect squares quiz. And I'll talk about that at the end of these notes. So we're starting with the 1. We know that 1 squared is 1. And then in return, the square root of 1 is also 1. When we go to 2 squared, we know 2 squared is 4. And the squared parts are things you should be familiar with. It's the square roots are the opposite or the backward version. Finding the square root of 4 is 2. Going back, 3 squared is 9. And then the square root of 9 is 3. And if you take a look at these all together, you can kind of see going from 1 to 2 to 3 how they're each other's inverse. 4 squared versus the square root of 4. So moving on, we have 4 squared, which is 16. And the square root of 16 is 4. 5 squared, 25. And the square root of 25 is 5. Moving down the page, you can see that I've left off the next one, so I want you to think about them as we go through. If we have 6 squared, that would make 36. So we're going to draw a little arrow, and we're obviously going to put, well, the square root. That's that radical sign that was part of your vocab on Tuesday. The square root of 36 is equal to 6. And we're going to continue this pattern up through 20. So 7 squared, 49. And the square root of 49 is equal to 7. 8 squared, 64. And the square root of 64 is equal to 8. 9 squared is 81. The square root of 81 is equal to 9. Moving down the page, 10 squared is 100, and the square root of 100 is equal to 10. 11 squared is 121, and the square root of 121 is 11. So how do I know these? Well, I know my multiplication facts up through probably 12 or 13 every time. If you can't figure out the squared part, all you need to do is simply write out what is 12 times 12 and do that multiplication. So we know that 12 times 12 is 144, and the square root of 144 is equal to 12. So when we get to these bigger numbers on the other side, if for some reason you cannot remember what 13 times 13 is, you're going to need to do that with multiplication. I know that it's 169, and the square root of 169, of course, is 13. So for the next couple, you might need to say, okay, 14 times 14, that gives me 16, carry my 1. And then 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Use your placeholder and continue your math until you get that number. Once you get that number, you can erase this math here so you have a nice set of notes. Oops, of course I made it go. Let's erase that again. Get my marker, and we're going to do the square root of 196 is equal to 14. 15 squared, 225. The square root of 225 is equivalent to 15. So some of these, honestly, I don't have memorized, and you need to have those memorized or either know how to do the multiplication beyond them. So that gives me 96, that gives me 160, so that's 256. Let's see, 6 times 6 is 36, that's 9. So 256, and I'm going to go back and erase. Do the square root of 256 is 16. I'm going to figure out 17. So that gives me 49, which gives me 11. Placeholder, 170, 9, 8, 289. So 289 is going to go there. And then we're going to take the square root of 289. So 289 square root equals 17. Moving along to 18, 19, and 20. 18, showing my work, I get 144, 180, 324. So then I'm going to show square root of 324 is equal to 18. And the last one that I really would need to figure out is 19 times 19. That's 361. And take the square root of 361. And then I do know that 20 squared is 400. And the square root of 400 is 20. So these should be in your notes, and you're going to file them in Notability. Again, these bottom ones you do not need to know. And you're going to file these in Notability. So you can use this chart to help you. You could make a copy of this and try and fill it in yourself and check it later. You could go through the flashcards that you see I have linked that are the Quizlet link in Canvas. Or you could, make flashcards on your own if you want, some tangible flashcards that, you can flip on your own. So what you're going to do today in class is you're going to spend some time playing Go Fish. The directions are on Canvas, and this is going to help you kind of use a sort of game to remember these perfect squares and square roots. You need to, by Sunday, go onto the Canvas quiz that I have linked on this page, and you'll have 2 opportunities to take a 10-question quiz over perfect squares and square roots. And whatever your score is after the second time, I'm going to record that as your quiz grade for this week. Please email me if you have any questions. And there's actually no assignment to submit today. So hopefully I will see you guys on Thursday.